Probiotics are all the craze right now, and I get asked all the time if they're beneficial for you if you have thyroid disease, and even what they are. So I wanted to go over with you what probiotic even is, kind of the gut health thyroid connection, and if you would benefit from taking a probiotic. If you could do me a very big favor though first, if you could subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so you get notification every time I release a new video. So one thing to keep in mind is that everyone is very, very different with their needs when it comes to anything with supplements. And probiotics actually are the exact same way. So one thing to definitely keep in mind with probiotics is that sometimes people actually don't necessarily benefit from certain strains. It kind of depends on what's going on inside your gut. Now, that's not to say that everyone shouldn't take a probiotic without testing for it, but you do get a little bit better idea of what bacteria you're actually deficient in and what you're going to benefit the most from. Because if you are taking a pretty high dose strain of certain bacteria or whatever that you actually have, you can kind of add fuel to the fire and make things worse. So I do actually recommend to look at testing. I do testing with all my clients to make sure that we are getting the right strain for you, because it is going to be a lot more beneficial for you. However, one thing I also want to mention is this gut thyroid connection and why you actually should be considering a probiotic. So when we think about our gut, this is where a lot of our immune system is housed. Like 80% of our immune system is inside our gut. About 90% of the people who have thyroid disease actually have something like Hashimoto's, and this is where we have an autoimmune disease and our thyroid is being attacked. Our body basically thinks it's a foreign invader. The big trigger for that can be actually from inside the gut. And so I always make sure that we're addressing gut health with my clients just to be on the safe side and make sure that we aren't leading in inflammation and things like that that can create this immune response basically against the thyroid. Also keep in mind that this is where 20% of thyroid hormone conversion happens. So our inactive T4 gets converted over to active T3. 20% is a large percentage of that happening in the gut. So if our gut health is poor, you're going to really struggle with thyroid hormone conversion. This is also where we break down our nutrients and vitamins and things like that from our foods. We also need that for our thyroid. So there's a really, really big interplay with why your gut health is actually very, very important with your thyroid. And like I mentioned, so many people that have thyroid disease actually have Hashimoto's and they don't even know it. And it can be one of the big triggers that can actually contribute to that is coming from the gut. So you really need to make sure that you're working on your gut health. Now, probiotic wise, if I'm thinking about probiotics that pretty much anyone could benefit from, and not going to necessarily add fuel to the fire and make things worse, would be something like a spore-based probiotic. So there's a lot of different ones out there in the market. I do like OrthoSpore by Orthomolecular. I also really like, one of my favorites is Megaspore. You do need to work with a practitioner to get that. So if you have questions with that, definitely reach out to me. I personally like, if I'm going to recommend probiotics to someone without having test results, I do like to recommend something like a spore base. It's more of a, I'll say, safer one, and that pretty much everyone can benefit from that. So that could be a great place to start, to at least start re-inoculating your gut basically with good bacteria. Remember, you're only born with a certain amount of gut bacteria, and we need good gut bacteria because, again, this is where most of our immune system is. And when we have good gut bacteria, it fights off things from coming in. So if we're really deficient in that, you have a chance of things coming in that should not be there. Secondly, like I mentioned, because you're only born with so much bacteria, you don't magically make good bacteria again. You have to actually put it back in. So you can get that from obviously taking a probiotic. You can also get that from food. So something else you could do are things like kimchi, kefir, kombucha, things like that. Those are really, really good for our gut health. Feeding it prebiotics as well. So we can get a lot of prebiotics actually from vegetables. Asparagus, hearts of palm, artichokes, those all have good prebiotic in them. And you can even do like resistant starch. So that's where you cook and cool sweet potatoes and rice and potatoes if you tolerate them, the cooking and cooling process, and then you can reheat them. That has a lot of resistant starch. That's really good for our gut health as well. So those are all ways that we can really boost that so-called probiotic and our good bacteria in the gut. But I would definitely say, if you're really curious about should I take a probiotic or should I not, first start with like how do you feel like your gut health is doing. Secondly, if you do have thyroid disease, I would definitely absolutely recommend taking a probiotic, and I would start with spore-based. That's always a safer way to start. And then if you feel like, you know what, I really want to see actually what strain I'm deficient in, what I should be taking, things like that, and to check out like maybe you do have a pathogen in your gut that's actually contributing to why the bacteria is so imbalanced. Like it's called dysbiosis. So you don't have a good balance between your good and bad bacteria. That's when stool testing comes into play. So definitely reach out and let me know if you have questions with that. Like I mentioned, I think everyone could really benefit from having a probiotic on board. Just depends on the kind of strain. I wouldn't just blindly go taking something. Like I said, I think a spore-based one is a safer way to go if you are just taking one without knowing your test results. And then you can start doing things like eating prebiotic and probiotic-rich foods. That's always going to be beneficial as well when we start thinking about how can I boost the good bacteria in my gut. That's a great place to start as well. And like I mentioned, if you have questions with this, especially with like what the probiotics are or how to get them, definitely reach out, comment below, and I will get back to you and let you know the best way to get those. So I hope you got a lot of information out of this video. Like I said, let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.